when Jody has a whole bunch of people over, we all park on the street. We don't go in the circular drive because no one wants to get blocked in. So what's going to happen is, even though there may be a long circular drive, all the visitors are going to park on Duffy Lane. It just, I mean, it's what happens in practice. So I worry just because Duffy Lane is a two-lane road. There's no real shoulder. The school buses for the high school stop right across the street, from the home. There's always somebody walking their dog, kids riding their bikes. So it's just a concern I have on safety. I know someone had mentioned rainwater issues. Unfortunately, the one thing that, as much as we love our big lot, I hate the fact how it floods all the time. Whenever it rains, my entire backyard is a lake. And so I get concerned that, surrounding this particular home, that's going to, occur to all adjacent homes. So I think that there has to be more, studies done on how will that be prevented. I think that when you add on 1,000 square feet, you're going to have the rainwater issue, et cetera. Someone had mentioned water supply. We are on a well. I think we even get letters from the village not to water on certain days or to watch your watering. So I thought that was a great point someone had asked about Lake Michigan water. Is that something that, the new home would do is, hook up to the Lake Michigan water? And I don't know how wells work. Are they all one well? I mean, if the 13 people all take showers that day, do I not get one? I mean, I'm not sure how the water works, but someone knows, and I think it's something that needs to be addressed. I know Mark has, to mention as well, so.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Along the points I mentioned, the only other one I mentioned too is a wonderful natural deer path along our backyard, and that would be right along the proposed driveway for the petitioner. So I'm not sure where the deer would go. So we do have to think about the folks that were here before us. There were a few letters in the village website from different villages to. One of them was from the village of Arlington Heights, which spoke to anything with 5 to 8 residents is what Arlington Heights would consider large community residence. And they did not seem to mention having anything in their village above that, or contemplating anything in their village above that. There was also from the Gurnee, which said they had 2 categories. 6 residents and under was considered a small community residence, and 7 residents or more was considered a large community residence. I believe that's that Teresa's home that we saw in the presentation earlier. Interestingly, that type of property, a large community residence, of which this would be considered, in Gurnee is only allowed in a multi-family area. So it would not be allowed in the type of area where petitioner is proposing to do it in Riverwoods. In addition, in Teresa's home, the owner and the owner's spouse both live on site at the property. Another major distinction. And it's in a commercial corridor where there's a church and an auto repair center within 1 to 2 blocks of the subject property. So it's not really a comp at all, in my view. The petitioner mentioned in their Q&A earlier that they do not have specific experience with this. However, they did go into detail in their membership in the Residential Assisted Living Academy. Did I get that right? Okay, RALA, and how this makes up for a lack of practical experience. They discussed attending several RALA conferences, attending work groups, and so forth, and being a premium member of RALA. Well, I called RALA, and apparently there is no such thing as a membership in RALA because they are a training academy. So I'm not sure how a petitioner can explain that, but I was confused by that. Furthermore, there's a lot of very interesting information on the RALA website. We make copies if a commission would like to share some with the up here. Thank you very much. Along with a research article on another website, Senior Housing Forum. I'm not sure if the petitioner is familiar with that, but they did our research for us about RALA, and it was very interesting what they wrote. So I'm just going to read you a few excerpts from this article, which is available on the Senior Housing Forum website. the website in a 3-day class that only costs around $5,000, you will learn how to make your fortune owning or operating boarding care style assisted. The site and academy is run by Marina, who, to his site, is a leading national expert on senior housing issues. So I went digging and did not discover it. I was a little surprised that I had never heard of this leading national expert. I am a long way from knowing everyone in the industry, however, I believe I know, or at least know of, most of the industry leaders. Most concerning of all was after finding him on LinkedIn, not only was I not connected, I was not connected with a single person he was connected with. No one else in this industry knows this expert either. I reached out to the Arizona Assisted Living Association, and he is not a member, nor had they ever heard of him. Okay, there's a lot of really interesting stuff. I wish I could do the whole thing, but I'll skip to some other moments. After spending some time on his website, it is clear his entire pitch is get rich on seniors. Just 1, 2, or a few communities, there seems to be no awareness that these seniors are people who need care, respect, and love. He seems to also have been involved in other, I'm just reading directly from the article.
Yeah, and stop. Well, you'll have your time.
I mean, I didn't bring up any of the things that he said.
Go ahead.
This quote from his website encapsulates what's wrong with what he's doing. Expert Gene Guarino does it successfully over and over, creating a wave of immediate positive cash flow. It is all about making money. I will note that in one of his videos he talks about doing good while doing well. This is a concept I fully support, but aside from this, essentially everything else is entirely about the money. If this were some flip houses in a day or week, get rich quick and off, I would shrug my shoulders and figure buyer. But the scary part is that this is being promoted as an easy way to make money on the backs of frail seniors. Good. That's the end of the article. 13 residents is a lot, especially for a new company. And so stating that petitioner has attended training classes from a company which offers this as a way to, and this is a direct quote from the website, ride the silver tsunami. Ride the silver tsunami. Does not provide a great deal of assurance to us as a JV. Maybe 3 or 5 residents, something that fits within what the village would already approve. But to bump it up to 13 residents, to ride the silver tsunami, does not seem to be in the best interest. Thank you very much.
Sue Young.
My maiden name is Forsyth. I've done Duffy Lane since 1991. I came back when my dad lived with my mother. My dad was on the planning commission in the 70s. Now, I know this, I know Duffy. I've been back for 20 years. It's a biology major, and I just cannot see I'm also the caretaker for my 87-year-old mother. I cannot see cramming 13 elderly people into a house, especially in Riverwoods. It is very swampy. The wells are iffy. Thank God my dad was a geologist. We have a very deep well. All the wells are connected. You know, it's not direct. It'll slope, it slushes. But 13 people on one lot will threaten everybody's supply. Also, I'll keep this short. I don't think your residents are going to feel happy at all about the pack of coyotes that lives on Duffy.
I'm probably the newest member of Riverwoods. I moved in about 3 weeks ago with my wife and 2 daughters. I work 2 Julie Lane, so I right now can see straight through to where this would be. Obviously, we hope in the spring, summer, and fall that won't happen because it'll all fill in. But nonetheless, we're excited to be here. We moved here for what Riverwoods is about, for what the website, which somebody already read, talks about. I'm not going to repeat everything that a lot of people have already said. I'm also a litigator, 10 years with my own small firm in Skokie. So I second what you said. Pro bono all day. I appreciate everybody's time. From a moral standpoint, my wife and I and my family, we've dealt with elder care. My wife's parents are a lot older. We've had loss in the family. I think everybody in this room can probably say the same thing. There's no question that we want the best for those that we care for. And I think a lot of people touched on why they have community in that neighborhood, and I share those as well. I didn't come here for that. At the same time, if it was already established, would that have made us decide not to come here and buy that home? Probably not, to be completely honest. Probably not. But it is not why we came here. I'm not going to get into all the 6-year-old, my 8-year-old, and the fences, and the this and the that, and worry about wandering patients, because we all know what happens. I just simply want to point out is the village attorney did a really nice job putting together a summary. And I just want to read very briefly that, and I expanded on it, being a litigator, of course, I had to go print the cases myself. And in the village attorney's summary, on page 2, it states that a finding that the accommodation is unnecessary means there is no ground for granting a waiver. And if we turn to the case law that's cited in this village attorney's memo, specifically Wisconsin Community Services versus City of Milwaukee, 7th Circuit Court of Appeals, good law as of me pulling it today. The court stated, and before I get into that, the court uses the term necessary and equal opportunity. I'm sure you guys have seen this. The FHAA links the term necessary to the goal of equal opportunity. The court goes on to say, and I quote, for a variation, if left unmodified, it would hurt handicapped people by reason of their handicap, rather than by virtue of what they have in common with other people, such as limited amounts of money. It's not intended to be moved. This is not intended to be waived simply because they may be disabled or handicapped. There's a rule in place for no more than 3 unrelated people. 13 is beyond a leap. The case law is very clear, in my opinion, as well, that the village is not forced to do this. This would be a choice, not something forced upon you. Glad to be here. Love to see all these people involved. I look forward to decades to come.
Betty? Spotted? Yes? No? Andrew?
I think everything's been pretty good, so I don't have anything else to add.
Conrad?
Hi, my name is Conrad Worspa. I'm one of your neighbors, by the way. I live on 5 Julie Lane, haven't met yet. There's a lot of very passionate people in this audience based on what's been said. And you can see the emotion runs really deep. I've worked with the village before. I look at the village as someone who's kind of got my back. One of our neighbors was dumping dirt in the back and messing around with the variances and the plants. You know, the village was there. Clean it up, find it, replant. And I always felt that you're living up to protecting the community. When 9 Julie Lane was for sale, there was flooding in the other neighbors, and you guys, you know, hey, put a stop order, we're not going to move into that house, we're going to make you guys fix it and make it right. And I always thought, you know, they're protecting our investment. I've been here since 2011, you know, my wife and I love the neighborhood, love the village, you know, but when I ask myself, how does this benefit the community? How does it benefit the neighbors? There's a lot of folks here who feel like their values are going to go down. And I appreciate Valerie coming up here and giving her statistics. I work for a startup too. We've raised $440 million. So we could pretty much paint anyone and skew those numbers any way we want. Right? These folks are neophytes when it comes to business. They do home care, and I appreciate it. My father is, like this first gentleman said, I'm never moving out of my house. I would stay here until I die. And I hired folks like that. They do a great job. But now they're pushing it a little bit further. If you go on their website, they already have it. They're opening up a facility in North Shore. They're counting their chickens before they're even hatched. So, I always look at business as doing the right thing. When you're all here, I see the police out there, okay? And I wonder, are you guys keeping them out there because you're worried about what people here might say to you? Or what There's a ruling group of people. They've done their research. They're passionate about it. I'm just saying, do the right thing. Have our backs. I want to come in here and pat you guys on the back and meet every one of you and know that you're living in a community that you can say, yeah, I did the right thing, right? Have that passion. Have some of the passion that some of these folks do. Having Valerie come up with statistics about how it's going to increase our values, none of us believe that. So all I'm going to ask is to do the right thing. Say go.
Lillian?
Hi, I'm Lilia Diggin. I am also from Julie Lane, and my husband is right there with me. We've been residents of Riverwoods for about 10 years, and I have a little bit of experience in the senior care industry, and I understand that it's one of the fastest growing and most profitable industries today, with about 10,000 baby boomers retiring daily. So I can certainly understand and see the financial attractiveness of this venture, and that it might be cheaper to rehab and rezone an existing property than build a new facility, yet this profitability of the venture changes the very nature of a very small and very unique community, something that cannot be compared to Skokie or Gurnee. Those examples were completely inaccurate and irrelevant. Riverwoods is very diverse. We have mansions and we have little cabins with very high taxes, amazing school districts, right? And property values are kind of all over the place. So in terms of speaking with the various realtors, I'm not sure that the statistical data that you're pulling is very accurate. It's actually, my background is in statistics and in marketing, so it's a complex study. And there's actually a book written on how to lie with statistics. It's amazing, you should read it. I also wanted to clarify as to what type of senior home will this proposed facility be. In the description of the proposed development of the property, I read that the 13 residents will share showers and baths, meaning that they won't have one of their own. So this implied to me that the residents might not be capable of taking showers on their own and they will need assistance. So are these residents bedridden? And if so, does this imply a high turnover rate of patients who will have more frequent visitors, had these patients actually live more on an independent basis? Yet at the same time, the petitioner is referring to these people as residents and not necessarily patients, also stating that there will not be medical care provided for these individuals. It's also my understanding that the property will be expanded by about 1,000 square feet. I have reviewed the Woodlands delineation map for the property, and I have personally walked my dog near the property, and it's full of native vegetation. And I don't mean buckthorn, which many of us are fighting, and some are not, but I mean native protected trees. These are oaks and maples and hickories. I can tell the others without the leaves on, but I mean, the lot is full of these trees with a very, very narrow driveway. So if this driveway is going to be expanded, are we cutting down trees? What's happening? And how this just felt very contradictory to the overall mission of the village, which is again very unique. I mean, we have our own ecologist. What is he saying on how, on how will this expansion of the property actually impact the woodlands and the wetlands? Thank you again for having this meeting. Thank you for hearing me out. I look forward to hearing the answers to some of the questions that I posed.
Thank you.
I speak, because I am an expert in what I'm going to address, and I'll explain to you why I am. First of all, Michael Moore, who always wears his hat when he's interviewed, said once when he was asked why he wore his hat, he said, "When I wear my hat, people listen to me." And I don't know that I understand that, but that's one of the reasons I have this hat on. The other one is that I could tell David that I am by far the oldest person in this room, and that I can only last so long with all of the speeches that are being made. I am now professor of health and aging at the University of Illinois School of Public Health. I'm an academic, and my views on the intended venture were clearly expressed at the last meeting. Today, I'm going to do something that was severely lacking up to this point, and I apologize if I'm going to use more than 4 minutes, but I'm convinced that what I'm about to do is absolutely necessary. I have in front of me the act that these well-intentioned people are going to have to observe in bringing this unit 13, and I'm not sure even what adjective to use. Are they disabled? Are they people with limitations of activities of daily living? We don't really know, and there's no way for us to know. Because are we going to have the right to go in and inspect? The answer is we are not. But our Department of Public Health is. This is from the act. I served for 4 years in the Illinois legislature as an elected member of the House. And it was a very studious member, and I know how to read these laws. And this law is the law that's going to dictate whether these people are doing their job properly. The Assisted Living and Shared Housing Act of the state of Illinois requires assisted living and shared housing establishments to be operated as residential, environmental, with supported services designed to meet the individual residents' changing needs and preferences. Now, these are just words, and words that may not have very great meaning to you, but that should be in before they start and every single year, and they can be on site during the period of time between those years. They don't standards. There's no way these well-intentioned people are going to be able to meet standards. Just listen. The law requires the model that's discussed in this law supports the principle that there is an acceptable balance between consumer protection and resident willingness to accept risk. And most consumers are competent to make their own judgments. You know, this is high-class stuff. It has nothing to do with real estate values and plumbing and things like that. They have to meet these standards. It says community-based residential care for persons who need assistance with activities of daily living, including, now, remember, 2 people during the day. We have no idea how much training they have. They could be the same people who I use for cleaning the carpets, the floors. They're not trained healthcare personnel, and they must be according to the laws. You're going to hear from me. The people in the 13 people have to have their activities of daily living, including personal, supportive, and intermittent health-related services available 24 hours a day. Who's kidding whom? 24 hours a day. That place is not going to be covered. Just as an example, what happens the first time that the person who's supposed to be there overnight doesn't show up? What happens? Do they have a backup group of people? The answer is they really can't, because it's too small. One of the things I learned in the years that I was practicing as the only oral surgeon who went people who are patients. They may not be called patients, but they are. You know, why are they there? Who sent them there? You know, their kids don't move around. They're in family. The answer is, these are complicated human beings. For whatever reason, they're there. Who's going to watch after them? Who's going to take care of their behavioral problems? Who's going to take care of them when one of them gets diarrhea? Huh? Diarrhea. We all get diarrhea once in a while. And if you're older, you're more likely, and I can assure you. Not only diarrhea. Most of these people have elevated blood pressure. Now, that's something that's potentially very dangerous. Who's going to check their blood pressures regularly? They're going to do it themselves? In this law, it does not allow that. Now listen to this very carefully. Here are the assessment and service plan requirements under law that this facility has to meet. Carefully, prior to admission to any establishment by this act, that's what this establishment is, a comprehensive assessment that includes an evaluation of the prospective resident and psychosocial condition shall be completed. That's a big deal. It's important to be done. That's done in really nursing homes and other rehabilitation organizations. At least assessment shall be completed, and upon identification of a significant change in a resident's condition, the resident shall be reassessed. Specify services, etc., etc. Comprehensive assessment shall be completed by a licensed physician. So far, these people all need physicians. They probably need other healthcare personnel as well. This requires organization. It requires transportation. It requires the facilities to be able to get them to places. And their kids don't want them anymore. Who's going to do that? Those two people during the day who are probably qualified to be janitorial personnel, not nurses. Based on the assessment, do the law. And I apologize to the commission for taking this much time, David, but this has got to be brought out.
I totally agree with you.
I'm the next commission.
Wait, why is it? Wait, just 1 second. So Bruce, I'm gonna give you a couple more minutes because you already.
David.
But here's what I'm gonna do. I have promised we will publish what you have on the web.
It won't be read. These are the people who and they have to hear. That means sit down or continue. I'm sorry, David, you wrote it smooth. I didn't make this up. I'm reading it from the Illinois statutes. Big book. Under the law, based on the assessment, this assessment has to be made of every single one of these 13 people. A written service plan about that. And they really, no offense to property values. We all care about that. I live 100 feet from the facility, and I'm sure my property value, but I'm talking about that. I'm talking as a doctor, and I'm talking about these people's health and medical needs. The comprehensive assessment shall be completed by a physician before they come in. Based on the assessment, a written service plan shall be developed for each and every one of them and mutually agreed upon by the provider and the resident. I'm not going to go on. This idea stinks. It does not make any sense, and it is not fair to the 13 people who are going to be imposed upon and stuck in that place, and then imposed upon us because we're going to have to help take care of them. Once in a while, someone's going to get out. What happens that one night when the girl, the woman, the man does not show up and there's nobody there? Who takes care of locking the door? Who takes care of safety? Who takes care of the patient who happen to have? Remember, these are all older people. And all of you who are older, 55 or over, all know that you have things that don't work right in your body anymore. They may not be major illnesses, but they're things that have a deep and serious impact on your daily life. And you need help with them. Who's going to do it? One of you here, Ms. Rosenberg, who's right next door to them, you know, she's going to have people knocking on her door at night because there's nobody there. I asked the commission, to complete my comments, David. This commission, and correct me if I'm wrong, is going to make a decision, and your decision is based on the law, based on advice from my fellow named Bruce. It's based on all these comments from all these people, and most importantly, the law as it's written that applies to this facility, which they have not addressed at all. So when you make your recommendations to the Board of Trustees, right, the board then has to make the final decision of whether or not to go ahead with this waiver and allowing 13 people to occupy a single family residence instead of, well, we're all stuck with 3. We can only have 3 unrelated people living in our homes. We may be violating it, but that's the law that affects us right now. This is going to increase it 400%. It doesn't make any sense. It's a horrible idea. You're doing your job, and we appreciate it, but please, when you give the information to the board, let them know that these nice people do not belong in Riverwoods. Thank you.
Lori?
I prefer my 4 minutes.
Lori? And Duffy?
Yeah. You cover it.
Okay.
Everybody else.
Good enough. John Maxon?
I'll pass.
Seymour Ricky?
I'm going to make this very short because most of the residents here have already very short. Very short. I think there's a couple comments I have. From what I've heard, 13 people is the maximum amount. That's money coming in. 2 people to take care of them. That's their overhead. Very little. Let that come in. I have my mother that I took care of. We have dementia. We went into a home. My mother is currently in a home. This is an important health issue for all of us here at Riverwoods. We love our community. We love the atmosphere that Riverwoods has, the privacy that Riverwoods has, and I think we all, as fellow human beings, about this very important issue of elder care. But this particular proposal does not work. This is a money grab. This will hurt our community. I know that you gentlemen and ladies are going to be making a vote. You are the people in Riverwoods. How many people here vote for this particular proposal to have a home for elder care here in Riverwoods? Who is for it? Who is against it? Thank you very much.
Okay. Eric? Okay. Take her.
My 4 minutes.
When we're done, we'll Eric?
I'll pass.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Don? Dan?
I only need 2 minutes.
Dan?
I think you skipped someone.
Dan on Duffy?
Likewise, I'll keep it very brief.
Oh,
My name's Dan Middlemeyer, Duffy Lane. We've had 3 generations, totaling about 80 years on the street. I recognize some people. I've been away and I'm back. First of all, a couple of things. The towns that Riverwood would compare to, and I did this research, and there's very few of them. It's very unique. Green Oaks, Meadowa, Bannockburn, Kildare, and Inverness. That's all I could come up with. Called a few of my buddies on some of the town committees over there. There's nothing like this in those communities. So these watered down comparisons kind of bother me. I like to see some more relevant presentation. It was a very anecdotal presentation that I saw. Did a little research. They are new. This is their first rodeo of this sort. And I thought of Shark Tank, which I like watching that. And these sharks say, this is great, you know, maybe we'll take a flyer, but this is where we can't take a flyer. We'd be taking a flyer. And then something that I noticed people haven't brought up is in the statutes of Riverwood, you can't run a business. No one's brought up this fact. This is a business. It's a business. So if we make an exception, and I know Riverwoods is very generous with smaller things with residents, and that's one of the reasons why my dad led the fight in the 90s to have annexed Duffy and Riverwoods versus Lincolnshire. Lincolnshire would have been at the bottom. Every time you redid something, you have to tear it down. Deep structures, a lot of people don't know that. So imagine all that environments, thatch garages having to be torn down. We chose Riverwoods because of its pastoral match. So, you know, back in, I don't know what year it was, but it was in the 90s when Riverwoods finally annexed all of Duffy Lane except for 2 houses in the middle. So it is a unique community. There's a lot of interesting points that I never thought of. But the first thing that came to mind, it's not even property values. It's a business. It's a business. Do you know any applications later on businesses will be there? Carpenters, woodworkers out of their garage. I know there's a number of people probably doing businesses that might be more like it, a hairdresser perhaps, you may be doing something in your garage, okay? But this is a business, which means there's employees coming and going on a daily basis, W-2, that's a business. Then visitors to those businesses. And now in community, I don't know if Riverwoods has the resources to service those businesses. And then the last gentleman that was just quite impressive brought up the fact about the law. I was thinking, elder care, that's a serious business. Does Riverwoods have resources to then elder care facility in its borders? Nothing goes wrong. It's going to be black on Riverwoods. And then finally, and I'm a capitalist, I'm all for profits. This is very profitable senior care right now. And what a great way to be profitable. You buy a single family residence for $500 grand. Why build a facility somewhere? How about a facility just like this with millions of dollars? Have you seen the facilities going up in Glenview, Northbrook, Deerfield? They're nice, they're expensive, they're well cared for. Fire doors, they have janitorial services, they have what you call fax management facilities. You have fax management, security, landscape. Come on, guys. The care, the doctor. So one thing I thought about the business itself. Finally, benefit to all. What's the benefit to the village of Riverwoods? Benefit to the owners? Clearly profitability, and I'm all for profit. Certain communities may benefit from this type of facility. They may welcome it. A blighted neighborhood that says, hey, landscape and fix up an old house, that may need this home. They don't need any businesses because in your law it says you can't be running a business in Riverwoods, especially in tick-infested, mosquito swamp, Duffy Lane. Lakewood Road, Deerfield Road, that's fine, but not in the center of the community. I can't think of business. The tennis thing up here, well, we all know how that went, so let's be careful. Sorry.
oh, that's funny.
But here's the important thing. If we allow a business, then you're going to have to allow the next business.
And again, I just want to say I'm really grateful to our neighbors. We have a lot of experts, and they've expressed some great opinions, and I concur. I have little to add, except I do have some interesting photos to add. This is the property as of 5 o'clock this afternoon. And you can clearly see what the kind of wood line looks like, how visible the other houses, the neighboring houses are, as well as the flooding. And 5 o'clock this afternoon is several hours after the heavy rains, so there was some time for that to drain away. And at the back of each photo, you've got what the photo is looking at. But clearly, I think some very valid questions about what adding 1,000 square foot would be to this flooding impact, as well as adding that hard surface. And some of this you can kind of see the driveway, which is in very poor condition. So if I may.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you.
I'd like to add
Ready? No, they're not gonna kick me out. I thank everybody for being so involved. I've moved into Riversburg, my name is James Thomas, Deerfield Road. I'm about to endure the Deerfield Road widening. You know, I don't understand what happened, you know, this village doesn't want it. I'm sure you guys can't want this. I understand you gotta entertain it, but they need to go someplace that it's zoned for, and that's where you're eligible to do this kind of stuff. And it's just, you know, we have so many issues in our town that we need to deal with. I mean, our water issues, we have this, you know, and I think there's a lot of things, and I think that everybody needs to start getting involved in our community. They want to build, you know, a park back here for another. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, all right, they can hear me. The system's kind of echoey, so it makes me kind of do this. I don't sit.
Go ahead.
It's okay, but, I mean, I lived here before we had a police department. This town's changed so much. I watched, you know, little houses. I got one of those little houses, okay? They built monstrous houses around me, push the water on me. Guys, you've put me into the floodplain. They rezoned the floodplain, and I think it's because of Deerfield Road. I'm dealing with smart people. I'm not that smart, you know. But I'm smart enough to know right from wrong, and a lot of stuff is wrong. You know, we need to take care of what we got. And now we got this. And if you give me a hammer, I'll fix your, $5 million. And then I've gone to some of these meetings, okay? You're telling me you're gonna rent the village hall out for weddings. Now we're in the entertainment business. You know, you guys are elected people, okay? And I appreciate what you're doing, I really do. But we gotta stop and start taking. Let's not own anything. Let's keep things. Moved here for privacy and simple lifestyle. Everybody. 2 minutes, so plenty of time. I do appreciate what you guys are all done, and I appreciate the attendance here. Get involved, please. I need.
Yes.
My name is Suzanne Schuster, 1435 Saunders Road, and I've lived here a little over 2 years. Thank you. I just wanted to share a personal story that I have. I'm originally from Miami, Florida, and I lived there for 20 years. The same exact situation happened to me while I lived in Miami. I lived in a very upscale neighborhood, and a company came in and told us that they were going to only have 6 people in You let one in, you let them all in. Because that's exactly what happened. I'm telling you my personal story. I lived through this. There were elderly women in nightgowns that would flee the facility with my own eyes. I'm not making this up. They are telling us that this is going to be secure. I didn't hear security cameras or guards or anything. The same thing happened in Miami to me. You let one in, then a whole plethora of these places came in. In fact, there was a whole investigation that the Attorney General down there got involved in because they said only 6 patients were going to be there. They ended up putting like 12 of them in there, which they weren't licensed to do, but who's really overseeing the day-to-day operations? Nobody was, at least in Miami. I'm just telling you my story. The bottom line is they're telling us 13 people. You don't know if it's going to be 15, 18, 20. Who's there every day? What paperwork do they have every day for what's exactly going to happen there? This happened in Miami, folks. Don't let it happen here. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Darlene Lowenthal, and I live in the house right next door. Right next door. 2480 Duffy Lane. Okay, the reason I just want to make this really, really clear. When we were here, when I was here, we were all here last week, there were very few people that showed up. Maybe 1/3 less, but they all fit in this room. And I made a request and I said, you have to send out some flyers to send something out because there are 4,000 residents in Riverwoods. This place should be so filled up that it should be going outside, there should be lines outside over here because people should be involved. This tells me that what was supposed to be sent out to notify people in Riverwoods was not sent out. Because if it was sent out, there'd be a hell of a lot more people over here. And as you can see, that gentleman, oh, it was wonderful. Nobody raised their hand to have this done. And if there was 4,000 people there, nobody would still raise their hands. And I'd like you to promise us that if there's another meeting next month, that it will be filled with people who are notified and understand what's going on so they can be involved in the process. Thank you.
Okay, so I don't have any more names left. So I'm going to ask the questions that you asked of the applicant so they can respond to your questions. Okay? Yes. Okay. Garbage, recycle, dumpster. Is there going to be a dumpster on the premises? Have you thought about garbage, recycling?
We don't have specific plans for garbage and recycling. The volume of trash or garbage that comes out of the senior group home is probably similar to a house, a family with 6 or 7 people. We would meet all the requirements in terms of garbage disposal and use their own stuff. I don't, if they need to be special pickups, I guess we could arrange it, but I have not heard that anywhere else that I didn't know.
Lighting, screening, is there going to have any other lighting other than what's currently there?
I'd have to look at what's currently there. I don't know if the village would require any additional lighting. We can certainly do that if the village requires it. But there's no requirement for, and no need for spotlights or for major lighting other than to make it attractive and safe for people that are visiting after dark.
Do you plan on having a circular driveway?
We don't have a final driveway plan. We will likely have a turnaround area. I'm not sure if it'll be a circular area, but it'll be an area to get turned around.
What, are you going to run a municipal line or are you going to use the well?
Our understanding, I'm not a water expert, we would rest on your fine folks at the city or experts that we could get to look at the water issue. There is a